Well, hey there idiots, welcome back to Observe. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be taking portrayals of certain people throughout history, both criminals and just various famous people as well, and comparing it to the portrayals done by actors and actresses on film and TV to see, do the people who are portraying these actual genuine human beings portray the same emotional states? Are we going to see some of the same expressions, some of the nonverbal communication? Will there be parallels? It's very curious. Today's video is going to be centering around Chris Watts and a very recent movie called Chris Watts Confessions of a Killer, released in 2020. More on that in a second. Let's go ahead and roll the intro. Christopher Lee Watts was born in May of 1985. In 2018, he admitted to murdering his pregnant wife by strangulation. He also later admitted to killing their daughters as well by smothering them with a blanket. On November 6th of 2018, Watts pleaded guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder as part of a plea deal when the death penalty was removed from sentencing. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. 3 of those were to be served consecutively. Now, on the flip side of this very same coin, we have actor Sean Kleier. He was born in March of 1987 in Louisville, Kentucky. While he is mostly known for his role in Antman vs. Wasp, today we are comparing his nonverbal portrayal of Watts in the 2020 movie Chris Watts Confessions of a Killer to the actual person to see if his performance lines up with Watts' behavior from the actual footage. I think that's enough disclaiming of all of this. If you haven't seen my other Chris Watts videos, go ahead and check those out. They are linked below. For now, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We'll be able to watch one, watch the other, talk about it. You'll see. Let's just go.
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like, I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like, if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like, I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not...
Real quick, I want to pause. I have already done some videos speaking about this interview, what we can see from it, and kind of the truth that might have been shown at that time. What this video today is focusing on is what he is communicating emotionally and then comparing it to the talent's portrayal of it. So here we can see he's very characterized by casualness on his face, is what he's trying to present. He has a small smile, he has slow blinks, and his upper eyelid is rather relaxed while blinking as well. Along with this, we can see this very tightly crossed gesture that he is presenting here as well. Now, we've already covered this. This could be a blocking gesture, it could be a self-soothing gesture, it could just be how he most comfortably stands. Not likely he doesn't stand this way often, except when he is agitated. Like I said, if you want context, go to the other videos. But that's what we're seeing so far from him, is this nonchalant presentation very shortly after a very, very terrible incident. And it was this display of odd, calm, casual behavior that was a red flag to many people back in the day. Let's continue watching this, and then we'll compare the reenactment of it later on.
Safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
You spoken to her family, like her parents?
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like, every hour. I mean, everybody back in North Carolina and the East Coast. I mean, from Maine to Florida. If you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
Okay, So we're going to go ahead and stop this here because this is the end of the little clip here that we'll be able to compare. So another thing that pops out to me that he does say regularly verbally is the word safe. I hope they're safe. I hope they come back. I hope they're safe, 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 safe. This is very repetitive, to be sure. And then along with this, we could see still on even this final frame here that he has no action in his forehead or eyebrow area or even around his eyes where you might expect to see some concern, perhaps sadness, maybe even a level of stress, but he's making such a large effort to show nothing there that it's becoming odd. It in and of itself is a red flag by just the lack of activity. So many people didn't notice that when he was actually speaking to camera. It was very strange behavior. So now we've seen how the actual Chris Watts portrayed himself during this time. It's time to now take a peek at Sean's portrayal at him in 2020.
Yeah, that's it. I can take that mic off you.
Wherever she is, I hope she's safe and with the kids, but like, I don't know, could she have taken off? I don't know. But if someone has her and she's not safe, like, I want them back. That's where my head's at. Like, if they're safe right now, like, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe, like, that's the not knowing part. Like, if they're not safe.
Okay, so fascinating to me on this front. They are both displaying what would be considered possible agitation points, where you can see some self-soothing gestures, we can see the pacing, we can see everything along those lines in both of them. However, what's different about Sean's performance than Chris's is the action largely found in his eyes and eyebrows. He has a much more emotive expression on his face that you would almost expect to see. It's very difficult to act in this situation as if it weren't a terrible situation, so much so that even the talent himself is having difficulty not reflecting that emotion on his face. So we're seeing that come in with the drawing upwards and inwards of the eyebrows there, and also some of the tenseness in his eyelids up there as well. You could also see an occasional vein pop out on his neck. This could be due to stress of performance or trying to be in character, but what he is portraying right now is far more flustered than what the actual Chris Watts portrayal was back in the day. This character that he's presented is more sympathetic, he has more empathetic emotion on his face, and he doesn't have the characteristic nonchalant smile that Chris Watts had, making it a little bit of a different feel to the person Chris Watts. I find that very interesting that they almost try to humanize him so far. Let's continue watching.
I have no inclination about where they're at. And I've exhausted like every friend that I know of, and like every friend I have has called friends that Shanann has that like maybe I don't know about, and it's just like vanished. Like she just like I came home last night and it was like a ghost town. Like nobody was home. She wasn't home. The kids weren't home. Like I have no idea where they went, and it's just like. It doesn't even feel real right now. You know, this just feels like, you know, a nightmare that like I can't wake up from. Like I don't know if you have any more like.
Okay. So that's the end of this little bit here of the reenactment of what Chris did. So what we could see in the parallels there are some similarities. As I mentioned, he is shifting weight from foot to foot, which is a sign of agitation. He's doing the very tight self-hug here, which could be a sign of agitation. However, what we're seeing more so on Sean's face, the talent's face, is the emotional state that would almost be expected from that instance. Concern, perhaps worry, stress, and agitation are showing up across his face where they weren't really showing up in Chris's face. And that is the comparison that we're seeing so far. Chris had all of these red flags because of the lack of information. And this guy has all of the red flags for a different reason. It's very interesting. Interesting portrayal. Let's continue on forward. This is now going to be discussing and covering the body cam footage that was also recovered and the reenactment thereof, and we'll talk about it at the very end.
What's that?
Nothing on there.
You just have to
My
back
camera.
from the truck up to the drive.
Lay down.
Loaded my stuff up in my coolers, my water jugs, my book bag, my computers, some of the tools that I had from the toolbox. I knew I was going to have to do some pumping into rubbers today. That's why I was out so far.
Is this on continually
Yep.
recording?
Yep. Well,
It's not. Is it
any
motion or is it?
event.
Okay, so it's motion.
Any motion event that happens, I get cars driving from this street. And this is him at 517.
Usually park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. Be easier to loading everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause it here because it's about to fast forward. He does a fair bit of just pacing and there's not a lot of verbal anything there, and he does the same nonverbal thing over and over and over again. So as I've said in previous videos, what we've been able to notice in Chris during this time is there's a fair bit of distraction. He's looking down at his phone regularly, but then he starts doing this very overt stress signal. He's obviously agitated. He raises his hands above his head. He's venting underneath here as he becomes more warm and more flustered. He's still pacing. He's pressing his lips together, and we could see a little bit of tightness and tenseness coming into his forehead here, centered around this moment where there's the possibility that he could have been caught on camera. Now, that's what we're seeing in the real footage here. Let's continue watching this, and then we'll compare after that.
My detective just showed up, so he'll probably want to talk to you. He'd probably, like I said, he might have you call at the bank and see if there's any kind of activity.
Because if there was any sort of action out
On
there,
his camera,
I would have got it.
like
Right.
we had issues the other week when people were stealing stuff out of like garages and stuff like that, and I had parked my truck.
I had
out
to
here.
park right here.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, that's the Chris Watts portrayal. Now we're gonna go ahead and watch Sean's portrayal of Chris Watts during that time, and we're gonna compare how did he do as opposed to Chris back in the actual footage. Let's see.
Any motion event that'll happen on this street, I got it. 517. This is him.
Yeah, I'm just loading up my stuff. I got coolers, some tools for my toolbox, computer, lunchbox, book bag, just stuff. Yeah, usually, I'll park around the side here, but yeah, there's so much stuff to load up. It's just easier to pull up, just back up, so.
Any sign of Shanann leaving the house?
No.
Is there anything you want to do with this, or?
Well, Detective Baumhover just showed up, so he'll probably want to talk to you and check and see if there's been any suspicious bank activity or...
Yeah. All right, well, hey, thanks. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that is the portrayal that Sean did of Chris during this specific police body cam footage. So like we said with Chris, we saw some venting behaviors. We saw a little bit of stress coming into his face as well. Also, what I didn't bring up, but I did in the other videos, is that he did also start to perspire as well. These are all things that would be considered red flags, possible indicators of agitation. Now, in Sean's representation of him, we saw an increase of those tells and some addition with some other ones as well as obviously a little bit of manipulation with the storyline itself. So during Sean's performance, he has a much more prevalent breath noise than Chris does. This would be an indicator of agitation as somebody needs more oxygen while they work through the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn response system. So that could be what Sean is trying to invoke here, is that same sort of feeling. However, it was not present in Chris's actual behavior in the day. Along with that, we could see that this portrayal of Chris has a lot more desire to leave the scene than the actual person did, at least as presented by the body cam footage. However, that being said, the Chris Watts himself did leave shortly thereafter as he wanted to get out of the situation that was very stressful for him. So in this specific representation of Chris Watts and what we are able to see and the comparison between the two is that my biggest critique in all of this is that it almost humanized Chris a little bit more than what was present in his actual nonverbal communication. I'm not reviewing the movie itself on any level, just these little aspects here and kind of what made those characters tick. Now, this is the first episode of what will hopefully be a pretty decent series, so it's a little bit rough. However, if you would like me to be able to take a look at some other people throughout history and their portrayals on film or TV, please leave their names in the comments below. And if you have any footage that you could link or suggest, that does help as well. If not, a name is very helpful. If you did like this video, please consider hitting the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell, do those things. There's all sorts of links in all sorts of areas. Please consider doing all the different links to all the different areas. I have a channel that is different from Observe here that I'll talk about more of the YouTube process that I have here and how you can also do it. Megan has her own channel as well. Everything's linked below. I also am partnered with the EIA over in the UK, as per always. If you would like to be able to receive a fully accredited collegiate education on nonverbal communication, high stakes nonverbal communication, then please consider that link in the description below. They have very, very good tools at use for you, and you get a discount for being a subscriber on Observe. So that's a little treat for you, but without further ado, that's all that I've got for the day. My name is Logan, and you have been oh so awesome as you always are. And I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.